Hello everyone, it's Tracy here, back with another video. Today I'm starting with a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I haven't cut it down yet or anything. And then I'm going to lay on top of that this texture wave stencil from Memory Box. I'm just going to place it down with some washi tape, and I did tape my cardstock underneath it down a little bit just so that it doesn't move underneath when I'm working with my embossing paste. Alright, so I am going to color my embossing paste, and I'm using the translucent. So I'm going to color this with three colors, the Broken China, Mermaid Lagoon, and Cracked Pistachio. And I am just putting a little bit of each of those on my nonstick craft sheet. And then I'll go ahead and put a little bit of clear embossing paste right next to each of those colors. And I chose these colors because I'm going to create kind of like an ocean water scene, and that's why I chose the wave stencil as well. Normally, I've used the clear embossing paste before, and I haven't really liked the results of it. I don't know if it was just the colors that I was choosing or what it was, but I really like the way that this one turned out. I think it works really well with the water scene, just with the blues and everything. So now I'm just mixing all of these colors together, making sure that it's completely blended and there is no more white showing in the embossing paste. So then I'm going to go ahead and scrape some of this onto my stencil. And I just picked up, I'm randomly using the colors, so I'll pick up a little bit of one and then a little bit of the other and just blending them together until it's completely covered. And this one is not, normally you want to make sure that you have as much colored embossing powder, you have enough to cover the entire piece of cardstock. This one won't matter quite as much just because there are some different colors, so you could mix a little bit more if need be if you don't have enough. And I had just enough. I thought I was going to have to mix a little bit more, but it ended up being enough for my card base. So I'm just mixing those together, and I really like the way that this cracked pistachio blends with the blues. It works really, really well, and it's kind of that light green. It's more like a seafoam green when it's with the clear embossing paste. It looks really cool. So I'm just scraping all of those, making sure that I will have enough, like I said, and covering up this entire stencil. The one thing with this stencil is there's really thin lines, so it's a little bit more difficult to work with. Some of the lines tend to want to move, so if you had some like spray adhesive, you could put on the back of that stencil just so that it's completely secured down on there. Because a lot of times I've tried using this with my distress inks before, and it's really hard with the blending tool just because those little wave lines want to move. So it's just a little tip if you are working with this stencil. So then I peeled up my stencil, and I will let this dry completely. And while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next steps of my card. I have the Lawn Fawn Critters in the Sea stamp set, and I'm going to stamp a couple of these fish along with the turtle and the seahorse. So I'm stamping this on my with Tuxedo Black Memento ink on my Coordinations 110-pound cardstock. So I'm just laying these all out because I have a big acrylic block that I can use and stamp them all at once. Go ahead and ink this up really well. And then I'll stamp it down, and then I did stamp the smaller fish once more. Then I'm going to go ahead and color these in with my Copic markers. I'm going to start by coloring this turtle in with the YG61, which is a really light green color. It's just kind of my base color for this. I'm coloring in all four of the limbs, the head, and the body part. And then I am adding in the YG63. And then I'll go ahead and blend that with the YG61. And then I wanted the shell to have a little bit of brown on it, so I'm just going to add this E31. And I'm coloring all of the little shapes that are on the turtle shell. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my YG67, which is a dark green color, all along the outside of the shell. Just going to create a little bit of definition. And then I'm going to blend that with the YG61. And when I was blending this, it wasn't quite enough for me. So after I get done using this marker, I'll go ahead and take the YG63, which is just one shade darker, and then blend it once more. And then that was kind of the perfect color. You could still see that brown through there a little bit, but it wasn't too much of a contrast. And then I'm just going to go ahead and color in the seahorse and the fish with different colors of Copics. Alright, so after I finished coloring those in, I fussy cut them out with the white border around the edge, so you could do the same thing with your dies. And then I have this strip of vellum, and I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn Party Animal stamp set. And I'm not going to stamp it like it is, I'm going to stamp one at a time because I want one on top of the other one. So I'm going to take my powder tool and just go over my vellum just to cut down on the static electricity. You could also use like a dryer sheet. And then I have my Versamark ink, and I'm first going to ink up the Happy. So I'm not going to put any of the Versamark ink on the birthday stamp quite yet. And then I'm just going to stamp this one towards the top and in the middle of my vellum. And I apologize if you hear noises in the background. My cat is playing with her toys. And then I cleaned off the Happy and dried that. And then I'm going to ink up the birthday and then stamp it right below the Happy, but a little bit off-centered so they're not one on top of each other exactly. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover those with the Hero Arts white embossing powder. You can see that Happy did stamp a little bit on the bottom, but I can wipe that off really easily. And then I went ahead and heat embossed that to melt all the embossing powder. So next I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my embossing paste piece, which is now completely dried. So I'm going to fold both of the ends of the vellum. So I have two pieces of Scotch tape. I'm just going to fold the one side and then tape that down on the back. And then I'll go ahead and fold the other piece around to the other side. And then tape that one on the back as well. I just find it a lot easier, and then you don't have to worry about adhering the vellum or it showing, any adhesive showing underneath your vellum on the front of your card. So I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of this piece, just using my ATG gun. And then I have a black A2 size card base that I'm adhering this on. And I did trim off the white edges on that watercolor piece. If you remember when I put the embossing paste piece on, there was those white edges from the stencil. So now I'm going to arrange my little sea critters here, just kind of randomly. I wanted the turtle next to the sentiment and kind of overlapping that. But the fish and the seahorse I'm just randomly placing down, and then I'll go ahead and adhere those down with some 3D foam squares. These are the small ones from Best Creation, and I'm using these to adhere all of the sea critters down. And they do stick really well on the transparent embossing paste, in case you're wondering. And then I'm just going to go ahead and scatter some clear sequins down. These are the 6mm ones from Pretty Pink Posh. And then I'm adhering them into place with a little bit of multi-matte medium. And all of the supplies I used on this card will be linked below if you're interested in any of them. And then that is my finished card for today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I will see you guys back here next time. Bye!